Welcome back to 7th Grade Mustache. On today's episode, we'll be speaking about the inner Thanksgiving. People constantly co-create the reality they exist within. When viewed scientifically, this is described through quantum physics, quantum field theory, and the Standard Model. When you zoom into ordinary objects far enough, you'll see waves and fields of particles. Matter is an illusion. Modern science excludes consciousness from these equations, making it difficult for people to grab these concepts. Yet quantum physics is the last step in a sequence of steps that begins with consciousness. Without consciousness, there is no observation, no observer. It makes everything else possible. Reality is consciousness, energy, and vibration. When you sleep and enter the dream state, you work on a canvas of your deep consciousness with the oils, pastels, and colors of ideas, emotions, and awareness. The scenes and situations are created instantaneously. The world of your waking life happens much slower, yet in a similar manner. The main difference being the interaction with many other people in that matter world. A matter world filled with people dipping in and out of the unseen back into the seen, visible world. This back and forth movement has been around since the first humans. Early civilizations like the people that built Göbekli Tepe. Göbekli Tepe is considered by some to be a soul recycling machine. This concept is very difficult for many people to grasp because we live in a matter world. We deal in hard science that does not use consciousness or consider consciousness at all. Or if it is, it's considered fringe. Some see the creation of a universe happening in pairs, one seen, the other unseen. Consider it like sand in an hourglass. When the sand slips through to the other side, it is in another universe, moving from non-materiality to materiality. Symbolism is used to describe that interaction. In Mali, West Africa, there is the Dogon tribe, who originally migrated all the way from Egypt. The Dogon ceremonial clothing and masks describe the interconnected nature of the seen and unseen worlds. Those masks show the formation of matter. It shares similarities with the concepts of ether physics in Western science. The movement between the worlds of seen to unseen is what drives the forces of life. In Buddhism, there is the public face, which says the forces that drive life are unknowable. Yet in esoteric Buddhism, those unknowable things are said to happen in pairs in every dimension above the third dimension. In the Hindu tradition, they have the concept of the yuga cycles, a very large wheel of time. The descending side of the wheel is materializing. The ascending side of the wheel is dematerializing. They see the process of creation moving in cycles, and that each cycle has 4 great sections of time called a yuga, Y-U-G-A. They are Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, Kali Yuga. It calculates the movement of our solar system through 12 star zodiac constellations. It takes the planet Earth 72 years to pass 1 degree of the zodiac. One cycle through the zodiac constellation takes 25,000 years. So creating reality that you live in is something that takes me back to a show we recorded last year. Talked about spiritual mapping. It's a subset of spiritual warfare. Gathering information on the spiritual, social, and physical characteristics of a place, culture, and people. First part is reconnaissance, gathering people with spiritual discernment to read the terrain. The second is research, researching historical, demographic areas and people, and conducting interviews with locals. Then the last is informed intercession. A prayer group of spiritual warriors will use the reconnaissance and research and pray with focused intent toward healing people and the land, weakening and eventually destroying the stronghold. Iniquity is a pattern of sin. There are 4 types of iniquity that can create a demonic stronghold on the land. That is bloodshed, sexual perversion, idolatry, and broken covenants. So I'm setting it up this way about the inner Thanksgiving because I want you to understand how what happens inside your consciousness is reflected outside in the matter world. And so that's why I'm setting it up this way, so you understand the mechanics of what is happening inside the consciousness. Your world begins with thought forms. Let's examine the nature of thoughts. First, there is a vibratory wave that radiates from the center of your consciousness. Just like a radio wave from a broadcast tower, it moves outward in all directions, diminishing gradually in intensity. It continues to emanate from the source for as long as the thought is held. The strength and clarity of the thought will also determine the distance the thought may travel. Generally, the quality of the thought is conveyed more than its details. The second type of thought energy is the thought form. Your consciousness exists in the sea of charged energy. When released, it grows into a form and travels across the void between your consciousness and all other sentience. For a short or long term, the thought becomes animated with the thought force acting as its soul and the charged essence as its body. If the thought is about someone, the thought form moves to the other person and discharges its energy upon the mental body. If the thoughts are about oneself, then the forms hover around you until you have relaxed and returned as dreams or passing ideas. A person travels around encased in a force field of thoughts, ideas, and desires of their own creation. This is why it is so important to keep your mind as clear as possible and practice mental and spiritual hygiene. Many people are easily caught up in negative mental feedback loops, generating negative thought forms, torturing themselves, and slowly creating the negative conditions that create a demonic stronghold. Those negative thought forms are catnip and cotton candy for low vibration negative entities. Nowadays, there is much talk about manifesting this and that. That requires a strong will, a strong discipline, and resolve.
So when you were talking about vibrations and how this physical world exists, most recently, there are certain activities that I did as a child that now as an adult scare the shit out of me. And when people tell you, if you do this, you'll see this. Well, one of the things going on right now, they're talking about if you get a laser level and shine it at a point on a wall, and you kind of put your face on, you split the laser with like a little crystal or something, and you put your eye there, you will see this. Everybody sees the same thing, allegedly. I haven't done it, don't want to do it. But you'll see a pattern of numbers. You put your eye real close to that matter, you'll see like a bunch of numbers repeating themselves over and over, 00114. And people are saying that this world is made up of different kind of matter, or some people say that means the world is a simulation, whatever, however you want to call it. But we had somebody that a long time ago wanted to come on the podcast. Her name, we called her Calamity Jane. And she kept saying, duct tape, the world's a simulation, the world's a simulation. I'm like, okay, that could mean multiple things. What you're saying is that it's a simulation of matter and we don't have any control, or you're saying it's a simulation as in a lot of these events are predetermined and there's somebody watching. Either way, what her point was is that, it doesn't matter. What we do doesn't matter. I'm like, it's just the opposite. What we do what matters way more. And stop trying to prove that it's a simulation and control your own actions. Another thing, when it comes to...
I think people, once again, leave out the spiritual, esoteric connection to all of this stuff. And a matter world normie would see that as mathematical equations. In the Quran, it says over it is 19, 1 and 9, 0 is a placeholder. God's language is math. What you're seeing is something that John Dee was fucking around with. He was the prototype for 007 and Doctor Strange, and he was the court magician and advisor for the first Queen Elizabeth. And he tampered with angelic magic. When you would see the stuff that he was talking about in esoteric grimoires and books and texts, it was what was called an angelic language. I think what people are seeing is the kind of like, okay, let me go back. In Japanese magical arts, you see people write ideograms, Japanese letters, hiragana, katakana, on their face to seal their spirit inside their body and protect anything from penetrating their vessel or being possessed. You saw it in Conan the Barbarian when the magician was his buddy, the Japanese dude, Mako. He wrote that stuff on his face, and then the demons tried to come and take his body. But they couldn't because he had wrote those inscriptions on Conan's body, so they couldn't take the spirit. That's based on esoteric teaching. That's not just a movie, science fiction, fantasy situation. No, that's based on actual esoteric practices. So what we are seeing is when you shine that light and people talk about they're on DMT and they can see numbers and transcriptions and weird alien letters, and people see this when they smoke DMT. What you're seeing is basically a chain link fence to keep everything in this reality together. It's basically you're seeing the weave of the fabric, and it's the fabric of this. It's the fabric between the physical world, the unseen, and the seen, and the material and immaterial. So everybody's like, it's assimilation, it's assimilation. It's a creation. And what you're seeing is the edges of that. What you're seeing is the edge of Dark City. That's what you're seeing. So, and everybody's like, it's fake, it's fake. No, it's real. It's very real. But this creation has layers to it.
It's still binders that hold it together. But hold it. So you also talk about thought.
Okay, if you went up to a house and you went inside, say a brand new $1 million house, I'm like, oh, this house is fantastic. If you took a sledgehammer and you hit the wall,
the particle board,
and you start, not the particle, the drywall.
Well, the drywall.
You smash into the drywall.
And you're going to see
you will see the electrical wiring on the inside, and you see the plumbing.
And the 2x4s.
That is what you're seeing. You're seeing what holds this reality together.
But hold it. So don't make me forget what I was going to say. You were talking about thought vibrations, and when you come up with an idea and it gets further and further away. Thought forms, excuse me. But one thing that when you, I don't want to say when you deal with women, because I don't want to
a certain type of personality.
No, okay, so there's a certain type of personality that loves meetings. I'm not a big meeting guy. I like 1 or 2 meetings, and then I like to go and do what we talked about. But there's people that need 10 or 15 meetings, and I'm like, no. What I'm saying, once you have
that is a representation of indecision.
Well, no, there's more to it than that. But
but you've been told that a certain type of personality is indecisive and can't make up their fucking mind, and every guy knows that there are certain types of personality that can't make up their fucking mind. And the guy's like, just fucking do it.
Hold on. First of all, the reason I talk about women is because I dated women, but also sometimes in business, once we have 1 or 2 meetings, we don't need to decide every fucking part. We need to, at some point, start the project. The way my mind works is what makes you divine, what makes you part of God, is bringing an idea into the physical realm. Do you understand? Is implementing it. Just having. See, women think conception is enough, but as a man, once I conceive an idea, then I have to figure out how to manifest it in this physical world.
That's why farming is called husbandry.
But that's what makes you divine, by bringing it into the physical world, creating something. See, women, their creation is usually of a person, and so sometimes that's all they think is that, okay, conception made me a mother. No, parenting made you a mother. And so that's how I feel. Okay, like, hey, Roscoe, we got a couple ideas, this, that, another. Then that's the third time we talk. Okay, I'm going to do this, you're going to do that. We'll come together in the middle, blah, blah, blah. But that's what's divine. And that's the reason I brought up, when people are so busy looking at the building blocks of reality and not living their reality and creating stuff, then all of a sudden those people are not divine. Those people are just somebody who thinks that everything is haphazard and thinks things that happen to them, and they have no context, no ability to affect this. This is the Illuminati. We can't do anything about it. We've done stuff about it for thousands and thousands of years, and we fended it off because enough people had enough knowledge to know, like, this is important, this is not important. We ran off these people several times over. So that's what I'm referring to. How about this? When I told you there are certain activities I won't do. When we were kids, and like, my mom is a shopper, you know that. My mom is shopping. We'd be in Yonkers, Brandeis, one of these local stores, and they used to have like mirrors. They would have like set up where they would have mirrors that you can see from 3 different angles, but those mirrors would close up. When I was a little kid, I used to love to close those mirrors up and look at the infinity inside the mirror. Like, and now
Like
that
Bruce Lee
fucking
in Enter the Dragon.
yeah, no, yes. In Enter the Dragon, there is a house of mirrors. But what I'm referring to is how terrifying that shit is now. Because I was looking into infinity. You would look all around, it'd be dark, there's a little green hue, and you would just see going on forever. And you as a kid, I would play with that shit. Now, nigga, I'm a grown motherfucking man. I ain't playing with no motherfucking mirrors. That's some shit that I don't want somebody to take my soul, somebody to take my body, whatever the fuck ever. But what I'm saying, there are certain activities that you do as a child that you don't understand the ramifications. These people who are just trying to peer through the veil of reality, when I've called Roscoe and told him, like, hey, man, I've been having problems lately. I'm seeing shit on the other side. I'm seeing shit. And I'm going to give you something happened to me yesterday. I had a little hue over my eyes. I've scratched my cornea, so sometimes there's a little haze in my eye. Well, I'm sitting here, my dog jumps up on me. I see some blue light emit from my dog. And I'm like, what? Okay, what the fuck was that? And so now you wipe your eyes and try to clear your vision to get a better view, and it's not there anymore. No, I know what an aura is. That's not what I saw. I saw some. I don't know what it was, but I know what it wasn't. Here's the point I'm making: is that people are so obsessed with proving reality is real or not real, or
how about the fact that everybody's talking about they have a guardian angel that's doing this and that for them. Here's the concept. We live in a tesseract that's a slice of multiple realities through infinity.
And sometimes you peer through that veil.
And sometimes your higher self can move across those to give you messages. Similar in the way that people at the end of Interstellar were communicating with each other in a hyperdimensional cube tesseract to give messages to people back in the past. And so they thought, oh, it was a ghost. No, it was your higher self from another point in time in the future, in that case, giving you a message. So people are like, I saw this thing, it was in the shower, and it was crazy. And I'm like, well, it was probably you, because ain't nobody gonna get in the shower, you know what I'm saying, with you with no shame, unless it's you. Like, hey man, I gotta tell you something. This is the only time that your mind is still enough that I can give you this message.
Hey, look, what Roscoe was talking about is I feel that I know I saw my guardian angel the other day. In I was taking a shower, and I'm literally out the corner of my eye, I see something between the shower curtain and the plastic part that goes inside of the shower that keeps water from the floor. And I see it out the side of my eye, and it's about the size of a fist, shadowy looking, and it's going down. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? And I'm like, okay, cool. It's my guardian angel. Now, the reason that I've come to that conclusion is because, again, we talked about this in past podcasts. I had a professor, Dr. Evans, at Langston University. He was one of the first black dudes to get his doctorate like inside of a year and a half. Brilliant man. But he was also from Louisiana, and he talked about his grandmother being a seer, and he would talk about different stuff. And he had conversations. Well, he's like, when you see your guardian angel, you're not going to be able to see it. You're not going to be able to focus on it. But you're going to see something. And you know what you saw, but you don't know what you saw. And so he describes this, and it's happened to me multiple times where when I saw my guardian angel, my life was in danger. And it wasn't in danger at that moment, but later on it was in danger. And because of my decisions, I was able to get out of these things. So when this thing happens to me on, was it Monday or Tuesday, whatever, I call Roscoe like, hey, man, shit, you're the only nigga I got. So you got to listen. And I tell him what I saw. And I'm like, and his joke was, why would that nigga try to talk to you in the shower? I'm like, nigga, I don't know. But apparently they thought that was urgent enough. And so, like I said, when I say guardian,
your mind is still enough. You're not distracted by anything.
Where you're click. So, again, I know I talked on it. We're like a bunch of podcasts in, but one of the earlier podcasts I talked about when I saw my guardian angel. I no longer had Dr. Evans as a professor. It's probably a year and a half later. There's a holiday where, when I was in college, I was so broke, I didn't come home for the holidays. So I would just live on campus, whatever the holiday was. But my brother, Damien slash Day, that's who I refer to. He was in the same boat. We were just in school to complete these motherfuckers. So this one holiday, we're living on campus, and me and my girl and Day decided to go to Stillwater, where where his family was, and kick it. So I'm sitting in my room by myself, and all of a sudden, out the corner of my eye, I see something dash across the floor, but it has a smudge to it, like a glow to it. And I'm like, is that a rat? Is that a mouse? But when it hits the underneath part of there's like a cabinet there, there's a little area in it. So it's either going to go left or right. So you run over there, it doesn't go left or right. There's nothing there. Whatever it was passed in front of my eye. And based on what Dr. Evans had told us in class, not just me, he told us in class, it wasn't just me in class, that, hey, when you see your guardian angel, you ain't going to be able to make it out, but you're going to know what it is and what it ain't. And so that day, we all, my girl, my best brother, Dede, we all jumped in the car, and something happened where we almost were killed. And I was like, they were like, how'd you see that? How'd you know that? I'm like, hey, man, I told you when I saw my guardian angel earlier, I knew, it was warning me. But the reason we're talking about this is that sometimes we don't know what we saw and we dismiss it. And this is something else that me and Roscoe talked about off the air, is that you got motherfuckers constantly looking for miracles and proof of whatever they're trying to prove. See, I say faith, you say faith, but people are like, I believe in what I believe. No, and I'm trying to tell you that sometimes there are miracles every single fucking day, and people don't give it the proper jurisdiction, proper governance, whatever the hell you want to call it. And they're very dismissive. And I'm like, man, miracles are all the time. Miracles are constant. People, you want to see a nigga walking across water, but then but you don't even realize that water went around and didn't flood this town and whatever. You're looking for miracles, and they're there all the fucking time. God's presence is always there. It's just because you don't want to believe, or you think that you have some kind of control over the situation, or it's a simulation. So whether it's a simulation, Roscoe said some deep shit, is that if you peel back the fucking drywall, then you'll see the inner workings of that house. That doesn't make that house any less valid, any less important, any less amazing.
Structurally sound.
Well, how about the fact that the house didn't fall over on top of you? Like I said, you're so concerned about proving some shit that you don't recognize a miracle when you see it. That all this shit was the sum was greater than the sum of its parts. Like $75 here, $45. You spent maybe $10,000-$15,000 building a $100,000, $200,000, $1 million house.
No, you're gonna spend a lot more than that. But go ahead.
Well, shit. Well, your lumber going up, nigga. But I'm saying, okay. But how about this? How about back in the day, you could order a house off Sears and Roebuck. They would drop the materials off, and I would call my brother, and you call our other brother, and we would come build that house. And now I have a house. But you spent a minimum, it was like $2,500 for all the parts. That's what I'm referring to. Yeah, you can't get them that cheap anymore. But if that still existed, because you don't realize how many houses out there in the country were bought that way. And a train would come, and they would drop the shit off, and they would bring it right to your crib, and then you put the shit together yourself. And I think in those days, we were walking around being gods, and we were much more godly because we understood how everything works. To be a man, you had to know how to build some shit. Now, I dig it. These women be talking shit. Can you build a house, nigga? Can you work on a car? Actually, yes, I can, but I learned how to do it on my own. So, my dad wasn't there. My mom was there, and she taught me what she could, and the rest, at a certain point in time, you become a whole person, and you start realizing, I can find this information on my own. I'm not going to be stopped. I have too many things going on in my life where I can't allow my life to be on hold because something doesn't work. I don't have this. I got to get it on my own. And I think that when you have that mastery of the world around you, then yeah, you have an affinity. You have a much better understanding of God. Prime example, something that, again, me and you talked about on an older podcast, is that I think the reason that so many people don't understand the relationship between the head of a household and things like that is because, or excuse me, people don't recognize God for who they are, is because they don't have a healthy relationship in their house. Like you hear all these women say, if I had a husband, I'd fix my kid's food first, but this kid don't bring anything to the table. Now, the only thing a kid does is carry your DNA on into this world. But a man or a woman who's the head of the house, they are the one who provide the food, the shelter, whatever money is necessary for all these different things to work, and it should filter down from head of household to husband or wife who takes care of the house, then to the kids, and so on and so forth. And that's why I think a lot of people don't understand the relationship with God, is because they don't have a proper relationship in their home. If you have a head of the household who makes most of the decisions, who gives you orders, who gives you balance and gives you morals and different things, then you're like, okay, well, shit. For me, it was my mom. For you, it was your parents. But then I'm like, okay, I understand how God provides for me. So it's my job to, once I become whatever the hell I'm going to become, that I start taking care of my family and so on and so forth. The best example I got of that is that this man he said, the funny thing is that when a man makes money, he's like, okay, I'm ready to have a family now and provide for people. When a woman makes money, first thought she gets is, I don't need a man. I'm like, that's an unhealthy way to be, but that's the way we are right now.
The power of gratitude is understated in its importance. All that you see around you is an echo of ancient thought forms. Look around your house, around the room you sit in. Those are the results of your focus and your conscious awareness and the subconscious self-programming. Gratitude is not just a virtue, but a method of recognizing abundance in your life and magnetizing what you want and bringing it toward the present moment that you're in. We are taught to work hard and use willpower to create a life of comfort. That works for the early parts of your life in developing a strong work ethic. Yet once you develop a solid foundation to maintain what you have, you should recognize the abundance within your life. Use that gratitude to relax your tensions about success and move forward with calm confidence and a clear desire. Relax your awareness and let the power of visualization blossom. If you are rigid and specific in your desire, you will block the development of your stated goals. Relaxing your awareness allows you to be receptive to infinite possibilities of your goals manifesting. Tension blocks many forms of useful intelligence. Removing obstacles are much easier the less tense you are. One thing that I think is important is relaxation. No matter what you're doing, whether you're planning something to execute, or you're in martial arts, or you're in a sport, or you're in something that requires concentration, focus you can consciously do. But concentration is something that happens. But it happens once you've relaxed your awareness. So relaxing your awareness is very important.
Hey, I remember when Alistair Ullerin was talking about that on that Rampage podcast, where he was saying, I know much more now than I ever did as a young man. And I understand relaxation. And that's why he said fasting is important, because your digestive system is one part of your body that never shuts down, because we're taught you got to eat 3 meals a day, this, that, and the other. And he's saying that if you're trying to relax for 3 or 4 days, you need to fast also. You need to take all the stress off your body. He's talking about that. And sometimes we get so wrapped up in this, you got to have 3 meals a day. You know what makes fasting so hard is that subconsciously I'm afraid to miss a meal. Like, oh, I'm broke. I can't miss I don't have enough money to buy a meal. And I'll catch myself buying food because I have money, not because I'm hungry, not because I need to. So sometimes when I fast, I literally got to have 500 or 600 in the account. I got to make sure that I've consumed some protein and some fiber. Then I can just go through it and fast for 3 or 4 days. But if I'm thinking like, okay, I'm not eating because I don't have money or I can't provide, it will literally cause you to be stressed. So you got to kind of create the situation. You create that moment. I don't know. you take it from your head and you execute it into this world. Like, okay, I'm fasting for 4 days. I'm not consuming anything. Is it a dry fast or a wet fast? Am I drinking water? I'm not drinking water. Am I drinking tea? And then you do it. But that sometimes the fear alone of, okay, I can't, yeah, my pantry, no, you got to just decide to relax, and you got to make your body relax. You got to make your mind, not think about bills, not think about this person or that person. Forget the schedule. And, you really got to sometimes dive into your off days, because as an adult, you don't get days off. You just get days when you're not at work. And then if another job comes along, somebody calls you, needs help moving, you jump at it. Your kids need this, but you got to dedicate time to relaxation, to be, clearing your head. So when it's time for you to be focused, when you're aiming that gun, or when you're working on that paper or report, you can give it to all because you haven't been exhausted with all the other stuff you got going on.
Studies have shown that people who are drunk when they are in car accidents have a higher rate of survival than people who are not drunk. The reason is that drunk person is relaxed. And so they're going to roll with the punches when that car is getting tossed to and fro.
We've seen it 1,000 times. Drunk people just get up. The worst one I didn't witness, but the worst one I know of, this guy I work with, he died like 3 different times. He's been an alcoholic for years. His car rolled over in Chicago, and when the ambulance gets there, they had to cut his clothes off, not because of the accident, because he sweat so much, his clothes froze to the street because it was like, 27 below. And they had to cut his clothes.
Froze to his body.
No, his clothes froze to the street. He was sweating that much. His clothes were frozen to the street. They couldn't just pick him up and put him on the stretcher. They had to cut the whole side of his clothes off, then put him on there. But he was that wet and sweaty, and it was that cold out. Oh, yeah, this guy should have been dead 1,000 times over. Yeah, the devil just didn't want him. That's all.
But I have to keep going back to relaxation, because there are so many times where in your life you will encounter stress and anxiety, and you're working through a situation, and you know that the only way you're going to get through that situation is if you calm the fuck down. You have to relax. Recently, I had a situation where I had to relax my way through personal crisis. And that sounds crazy until you're going through it. And when you start to go through it, you're realizing that, well, shit, if I'm tense, I won't make it out of the situation.
It ain't just a tense. It's the fact that you're literally devoting too much thought to the bad part and not to the resolution, or how am I going to get through it. And it's hard sometimes because you literally like, oh my God, I'm going through it. And then depending on the people around you, I love my women and kids, but sometimes your woman can make it worse. But
there's this old saying that worrying is like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but no place to go.
That's not funny, but that's because it's so true. That's some real shit right
Sometimes when I see a person just worrying the hell out of themselves, I just tell them, hey, get out of that rocking chair, or take that helmet off. You got this helmet with all this shit like glued to it.
Stuffed in there.
And you just wearing it like with a fucking chin strap. Like, take that bullshit off. The only problem is that telling the person to relax is not really going to do it. You have to show them how to relax. And when a person is actually in the thick of it, the last thing they want to hear is relax.
That depends on the person, but I know this, after the passing of my son, I don't like when people, if I see somebody going through something, I don't always ask what's going on. I'm like, hey, you need help. We talk about something completely different.
Or just ask specific questions that are helpful.
Because the whole thing is, a lot of times people are getting too much entertainment out of you going through some shit. And then you repeating it is just, you're reliving some shit you don't want to relive. And that's something I've learned, between us, between these situations. I'm like, nah. It's not because I'm not concerned, but just like I said, I'm not trying to make you relive a negative situation. Hey, what can I do to help? Hey, where we need to go? Shoot, you need to jump in the car? Come on, let's go. You need to get groceries? A friend of ours, dad passed. I picked his mom up, took her everywhere she needed to go, canceled accounts, got food, to put stuff in storage. So, like I said, I'm not big on asking what happened. I mean, I guess I do care, but it's not going to change the pain I got over whatever the situation is. But I'll definitely be there for you. That's it. That's all. I have empathy. I can feel the pain. I don't need to know what's causing it, but I definitely be the one to help you fix it. That kind of thing. Fuck all this other shit.
Man, gratitude is important because in the chase, in the journey, in the striving for a better life, for more things, for whatever it is you want, you forget to stop and smell the roses. And a moment ago, I said the first part of your life, you develop your work ethic and you get these foundational things in your life to kind of hold you down. But you have to, after a certain point in your life, switch from striving to developing. And what I mean by that is striving and pushing for something will develop tension because it's just a very American way of going after what you want. And that's good. And that's healthy. But not your entire life. Your entire life should not be pushing and striving. When I visit other countries, I see people enjoying life, living simple lives, and they have everything they need. We live in this country where we always want bigger and better things, and now we're in a point in this country where our dollar doesn't buy as much as it used to when we were children, and that can stress people out if you let it. But once you are able to make sure you have your basic amenities, lights, central air, food, transportation, a means to continue that without focusing on that, then what happens is you can relax.
Hey, first off, you said some deep shit when you said gratitude is how you kind of do inventory. I think sometimes what happens, people get that amnesia when it comes to the good shit, but they recognize all the bad shit. You can have 3 or 4 bad things happen and 25 good things, but you're focusing on the bad things. So that's why gratitude is important because it gives you that inventory. Second, I remember Will Smith said some deep shit where he was like, we always talk about what you do when you have nothing, but what do you do when you have everything? Because you got that little area in there where you're striving, like you were talking about, Roscoe. You got that striving, but then how does a person act when they have everything? Children are healthy, big house, cars. Then what do you do? Because when you were down here broke, you were saying that, money ain't going to change me, or this is going to happen, and so you go to that striving mode, where you're trying to achieve this, that now you're at the top where you don't need nothing, and sometimes you don't know what to do with yourself.
So then at that point, you need to do what makes you happy.
Sometimes you forget what makes you happy because you've been striving so long.
Well, you got to figure that shit out because
come on, the original
these
goal,
people who are on this golden hamster wheel, I'm talking to everybody in Los Angeles, I'm talking about everybody in Atlanta, I'm talking about everybody in New York and Chicago and these big cities that are like always chasing after something, that is
never catching it,
out of their reach. Or they have, an affluent lifestyle, but they're not happy. And at that point, you look at that person, you say, why are you so unhappy? Like, you have to shift your awareness so you can have an appreciation for the abundance. And that's really, so, okay, abundance abundance can take many forms. It really can. And do you have access to fresh fruit? Do you have fruit trees in your backyard? When I was a kid, I had abundance because there were peach trees and plum trees in my backyard. We grew watermelons, and there was fresh mint that you could just stand on the side of the porch and just smell on a cool, breezy day. All these things that I thought about as a kid and I think about now. And Duct Tape and I would talk about these things. We actually grew up in abundance. We weren't wealthy, but we had abundance. And we were able to look around. Because I think as kids, we were aware that, like, life is pretty fucking good, man. And so what we were able to do is focus on being creative and adventurous.
You know what made us best friends? You had a great dad. And when I met you, you had every G.I. Joe action figure. A friend of my mom, she was dating, he bought me the first Dragonfly. Bought me the...
I remember that helicopter.
And bought me the Sky Striker, and I had the X-Wing. So I had all the vehicles. I had to have... So we melded over that. You understand? Like shit.
So what it was is we had the tools to exercise our creativity. And so we could use our creativity, and there were limits, but there weren't any limits. Because we could go and we could watch the cartoon, but like, look, this is how they did this and that. And then we go outside and we would use the landscape, and it's like, all right, we got these hills and we got these rocks and we got these trees and shit around here. We can use this. And and like as kids, it's fantastic because the outdoors provide so much material for your imagination.
Look, I'm gonna tell y'all a story. This was like the third generation of G.I. Joes that just showed the new action figures, and I got Blowtorch. He was the first things first. Why the hell are they still using flamethrowers? I'll never know, but I had to do with the flamethrower.
Because flamethrowers are cool.
And so his backpack fell into your bush. 20 years later, when your parents cut down that bush, that backpack was still sitting there, the yellow one.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because that's who we were. And sometimes I don't think people recognize abundance. The problem with abundance is sometimes when you have so much, you still focus on the wrong shit. I'm going to give you an example, my brother. You live in Atlanta, and the big thing right now is BBL, Brazilian butt lift.
Yep.
Sounds impressive.
Every day, all day.
And you know what else is impressive? The breasts. These women ain't got no waist, big breasts. Sometimes they're real, sometimes they're not. And women will say, man, as soon as I get $20,000, I'm going to do a mommy makeover. I can't find a man. Yeah, I got to compete with these women on TV. Do you realize that vaginal revitalization surgery only costs $5,000? And you sitting here getting your titties and your ass done, but you ain't tightened up the puss. The thing that might get you a man.
Man, listen. Well, I'm going to tell you about the Atlanta experience, buddy.
Come on, brother.
So...
Talk about abundance.
I live in the Star Wars cantina, okay? And I'm grateful for that because there's all these different languages and all these different styles of people around me every day. On a regular basis, I hear about 4 languages all the time. No bullshit. And I really dig that because it allows my mind to interact and decode what I'm hearing and how to shuffle that into my daily experience. So here in Atlanta, they have these Korean spas, and a lot of black people go to these spas because they're regenerative, right? And a lot of black people, grew up with, martial arts or wellness and like how to improve yourself. So going to these Korean spas is like actually part of like the black code switching thing in Atlanta. And these spas, these Korean spas, which are based on Chinese medicine, they have this thing called a hip bath. And a hip bath is vaginal rejuvenation through herbs. And these women, they basically, they squat over this like steaming pot of herbs, and it tightens up the pee.
Look,
and you got to spend thousands of dollars. So yeah, there's ways to do shit.
Hey, but that's what the nani balls are for. They hold the balls, they do the kegels. And all. But all I'm saying is that you're spending money, say, because you want to get a man, but you ain't doing the thing that the man really probably would enjoy. But that tells you that's the problem with abundance. You can easily focus on the wrong shit. And when you got abundance, you're buying shit that's not necessary. When you got abundance, you forget like how it was before you had abundance.
Dude,
You take
so,
things for granted.
but this is the thing though, like, with each passing year, I grow in gratitude for the
Yeah.
abundance in my life and for things that I control and I don't control. And for example, in one day, I had a conversation with people about turducken, carrot souffle, and sweet potato pie, and then also dumplings. Okay, dumplings and Korean pancakes all on the same day. Different types of culture, different types of people. And I also heard 4 to 5 different languages that day, also spoken by native speakers. So it's pretty fucking cool, man, if you can relax your awareness and stretch out with your feelings, like Yoda says. Well, I'm sorry, not Yoda, but Obi-Wan Kenobi said in the first Star Wars. Stretch out with your feelings, feel the force, feel the world around you, and appreciate it. Really appreciate what you have in your day-to-day life. Because if you allow yourself to be aware of these things, you'll be bowled over with how cool it is.
Look, going places, actually experiencing stuff, jumping out of a plane, that's your thing. Deep sea fishing, all these different experiences. Sometimes we get put into a box and we say it's a cultural thing. Oh, black folks don't do that, or or person don't do. And I'm like, are you limiting yourself, or did somebody else limit you a long time ago and you just won't let go of it? So,
Dude, you know, I had a job offer to go work on a military base to install some stuff recently. Got a phone call out of the blue, as a matter of fact. I'm like, well, that's kind of strange, but okay. And this dude called me, and you could tell this is a person that doesn't like being told no. I don't give a shit about that. He called me. He offered me a job to work on a specific day. I said, all right, cool. No problem. I'll be there. Mind you, this place is 6 hours away, but I'll get there. Then over the course of the conversation and him describing everything, after going over like the particulars, he's like, hey, can you come in a day early? And I say, no, I can't do that because I have a prior obligation to fulfill. I can't. I have to go build a fence somewhere. Well, you go build that fence then. I'm like, all right, see ya. And even though I really needed that money, I was not about to bend over backwards for this person, because my spidey senses told me right away, like, there's something wrong with this shit. Like, if a person,
there's gonna be an issue.
Yeah, there's gonna be an issue. If that person like is that wishy-washy and that indecisive, how about you start with what you want at the beginning? Because then that will determine whether or not this is a waste of time. And it turned out to be a waste of fucking time. It's like, well, if you would have told me you wanted me to come in on Sunday, I would have told you no at the rip. So start with that so you don't waste people's time, man.
No, some people, you hate throwing the whole race card towards everything, but sometimes people really do have a problem with you speaking up. And I'm like, I grew up, my mama was one of the people like, hey, don't let them put their hands on you. Don't let nobody talk to you a certain way. And so just the fact that I'm giving boundaries, or I'm respecting myself, or I'm respecting you by giving you an answer, even if it's not the answer you want. I mean, hey, no, I can't do that, brother. No, man, fuck that shit. Yeah, you being upset, that's kind of your problem. I didn't cause it. You know what I'm saying? I didn't make it that urgent. You did. So no, 2 tears in a bucket. Fuck it. I'm not falling for that shit.
Right, but it was the fact that I recognized that, number one, I have to stick to my word that I gave a person, that I would show up and do the work.
Yeah.
And then number two,
your spider sense was tingling. You knew something like this.
But not only that, I had the confidence to say, you know what? Money will come. The money that I need will come, and I don't have to worry or put myself in a vulnerable state to make money.
No. Ain't nothing wrong with that. You got good sense.
But I think worrying is really poisonous.
In the Bible, they said when it appears like 300 or 400 times, don't fear, no fear, things like that. That fear thing is a major thing that appears in through different cultures and stuff. You're not supposed to fear, and worry is a form of fearing something, fretting over something that might happen or might not happen, fretting on not having enough money, or if you got your health, which half of us don't have because they poisoned us, but then you get your rest, you get up the next day, and you carry on. But nah, that worry is just another form of fear that overtakes your body, makes you irritable. It causes a lot of other problems. So no, I'm not going to worry.
Is improve the quality of our life. And no matter how you do that, how you execute that, that really is the goal, is living a good life, one of good quality and high virtue. And so I think being careful about what you eat is very important. But I started to notice something about friends who were so particular about what they ate. And I'm like, you're starting to move out of balance. When you are so preoccupied with what you eat, there's fear in that. And I'm aware of all the poison and the GMO and the Monsanto and all that shit. I'm aware of that. But at the same time, it's like, it's still just food. It's still just water. And you still, at the end of the day, determine the health of the cells in your body with your awareness.
I think people will look for too much enjoyment and look for too much, not justification. You know what I'm saying? Looking for too much from food. I remember this one chick. She was overweight. She had like a nervous breakdown, so she committed herself. I saw her. She lost like 40, 50 pounds. I'm like, you looked amazing. She said, yeah. And the whole thing was that she ate because of fear. It was part of her nervous twitch, you know. And when she was there, she got a chance to think about it and connect with herself. Now, she blew it. You know, she was a douche. She ended up getting fat again. But the whole thing was, it shows you that sometimes having that abundance is more. It's not just confidence. It's something else. It's like, well, they call it retail therapy. Oh, I buy because I can't. Like, you don't need to buy every damn thing you see. You're just filling up space. No, that's silly. And so it's really important to recognize that shit, that we don't need everything that we can get. We got to have some boundaries. And so, yeah, no. And I think that, like I said, I think another thing they kind of, there's an attack on confidence. Like, if somebody's rich, they can be obnoxious as they want. But if you're, I don't want to say broke, but if you're not where they think you should be, you're arrogant. Well, I'm not. I'm confident in my abilities. I know what I can accomplish. You think you're all that? I don't think about that. That's your opinion of me. And what happened was things that you.
No, it comes down to, like, are you good? Yeah, cool. Yeah. I'm good too. We both good. So what's the problem?
The problem is, what broke you didn't break me. I experienced some of the same things that these other people have experienced, and I didn't die, get broken. I cried because I'm like, I do have emotions, but I'm not sitting here like, oh no, fuck, no, not fuck everybody. And I told you about my personal shit. Some things I was angry, but either way, I'm not taking it out on other people. I'm angry as an emotional reaction to some kind of stimulus, and I thought that was the appropriate way to be for whatever reason. But nah, I don't call you an arrogant asshole. I don't call you that. Like, I'm like, joking, you stubborn, you did. But the fact is this: you don't insult somebody for being different than you. You don't sit here and try to bring them down to. Oh yes, I make jokes all the time. I see a fat motherfucker roller skate. I'm like, oh shit, this ain't gonna end well. But the fact is this: is that I'm not gonna call you arrogant to insult you. I'm not gonna call you confident because I really want you to be unconfident. Nah, I'm not gonna bring you down to my level unless my level's up higher and I'm bringing you up to where I am. But I would never want somebody to have a negative reaction or experience some negative shit just because I went through it. That's not how I function. But I think that's a big thing that the people want to attack your confidence now, and they'll say that shit. You think you all that because you work such and such, or you got a degree. I'm like, yeah, I earned that, motherfucker. They didn't give it to me, nigga. It's like I walked up and, hey, here, permission slip, sign this. No, I earned everything I got. And I don't think I'm better than people. I think I'm the best version, and God gave me the ability to get better. But shit, somebody else told me, you think you all that because you ain't got kids. I'm like, no, I don't. What? Birth control?
No. See, when you say that, you're telling me that you ain't shit because you got kids, or you're a fucking loser. That's in your mind. That's your baggage. I'm not carrying those bags for you.
You're on your fourth baby daddy, and shit. Pussy wasn't worth marrying. Maybe if they use revitalization, maybe you can keep a nigga. I don't know.
At the Korean spa.
Yeah, I'm saying, but carry the little 90 stones, bitch. Come on. But what I'm saying is that I don't want to make anybody not confident, but I'm not saying that I'm better or any of that stuff. I'm trying to win at my life, and I'm trying to be the best version of me, but I'm not going to tear you down for me to be that good. And I'm not going to attack your confidence because I don't want you. I think that's enough. People go into that. How do I say this? When you don't respond the way somebody wants you to, they instantly go into manipulation. That's a person that's been hurt. That's a person that was fucked over by their own parents, kind of shit. I ain't that kind of nigga. I'm not going to like, oh nah, nope. If I don't agree with you, you don't agree with me. You still you. I'm still me. We don't have the same experiences. We shouldn't have the same outcomes. But no, I'm not going to fuck you over. Not at all.
Yeah. So this episode started off talking about how there is an unseen world that interacts with the visible world. And throughout history, there were these major civilizations that built these monuments in a way to appreciate the unseen world and its interaction with the visible world. I set that up so that you would understand there is a consciousness connection that creates this world that we see, but it starts from within.
Yeah, and your mind, you create it.
We're in the season of the holidays now, and people are spending money to go and be with their loved ones and create these large meals and buy gifts and celebrate a new year. But it's important that you recalibrate yourself this time of year if you are finding yourself in a place where you're struggling. You're struggling to keep inner peace. You're struggling to be happy. You're struggling to pay your bills. You're struggling to meet your goals. What you have to do is take stock of everything around you.
Everything you have.
Yeah, I mean, if you have shelter, right on, man. You're doing good. If the lights are on, right on, man. You're doing good. If you can still find a way to reach those simple pleasures around you, if you have a video collection of movies and shows that you can watch,
VHS,
sit down and find a couple things on there that you can just, spin up real fast and go down memory lane and just put yourself in a happy place. If you have a musical instrument or you have a film camera, find ways to create with it so you can balance your inner world. Balancing your inner world is really important. You have to do that because you can be in a relationship with a person and you're getting all your physical needs met, but there's the inner part where there's internal dialogues going on. These people, like Walt Whitman said, living these lives of quiet desperation because they're unfulfilled. But that's up to you to do that. When you rely on another person to fulfill you, you're already fucking yourself up.
Look, I think, again, something that we talked about, I had a great childhood. I'm pretty sure, I know for a fact you had a great, and I think there's a lot of people that didn't get to do things they want to do as children. And now as adults, they're trying to fill that void with men, women, cars, clothes and hoes, whatever. But the fact is this, you can't go back. You can fix some things, but you really can't go back. And I think that'll leave you unfulfilled. Sometimes you just want to have a conversation. And I'm gonna say something that sounds. I think people put way too much stock into therapy, my nigga. They act like you need therapy.
Yeah,
Like therapy.
100%, 100%. I think people fetishize therapy.
Therapy, yeah. Look. I love these brothers doing shit. A lot of these niggas in the NFL, NBA, they got podcasts. They're talking, but that's something that I'm tired of hearing as a black person. Us black folks, we need a therapy. We need therapy. Therapy. Now.
No, you need therapy, bro.
I don't know if you do or don't, but all I'm simply saying
I do.
is that
I do. You know what? And I'm clear about that because I know how to reset myself. I know how to heal myself. I know things that have gone wrong that could, use some work. I know what I need to work on.
I admit that I've been too guarded over the years because one thing I've done, I have conversations with 10 different people about shit really bothering me, but I don't talk to each person about the same thing. I talk to people about different shit. Now, if I could sit down with you and have a whole conversation, cool, because I know whatever I say is there, is locked. But like if I got to get this shit off my chest, I'll talk to 7 different people. I'm not, even though they don't realize that I'm getting things off my chest to different people. Sometimes you need somebody to give you some instructions. Sometimes you need guidance. I get all that shit.
But here's another thing that people don't realize. People overthink shit. And sometimes you need to go for a walk.
Fetishize therapy, that's some deep shit. That's a real thing. You got people who aspire to have therapy. Oh, when I get my shit together, when I get my health care, I'm going to see a therapist. I'm like, excuse me? Like, you can go see one now.
But this is what I'm saying. Sometimes you just need to go for a fucking walk. Because that walk is, there's a reason why they call something an exorcism. Because you're exercising some shit out of something.
Yes.
And normally in an exorcism, it involves sweating and like vigorous behavior and movement. Same thing happens when you go and you exercise. You get sweaty and you elevate your heart rate and your mind clears.
Look, there's a couple. First thing, let's go back to the very beginning. This is some deep shit. What you said is that you create this idea, then we talk about bringing the idea to the physical world and then accomplishing
thought vibrations and thought forms.
But you got people who think that they need another person, that their thoughts and their ideas and their emotions aren't valid, and I got to have somebody else validate them. So that therapist will validate that my mom wasn't shit. That therapist will validate that my uncle stuck his finger in my butthole.
And they'll keep taking your money for months and years at a time when you might have been good after the first or second visit.
Look, this is personal. I'll make it quick. So one of my older daughters has been recently diagnosed with ADHD. And I was just trying to let her know, I'm like, you're 23 now. Don't take this the wrong way, but be glad you weren't diagnosed. Because sometimes them diagnoses early on will fuck you up for the rest of your life. And the way my mom did me was like, hey, you got this, but that don't mean you ain't on top of it.
But guess what? Don't think you're going to get a blue parking space, little sticker on your car just because you got that diagnosis. Okay? Yeah, what I'm saying is don't make it bigger than it is. Fine.
Yes. Well, the whole thing is, I just explained to her, I said, look at all the shit you accomplished. You graduated from Creighton. You're working 2 jobs. You're getting caught up. But what if you had been burdened by that diagnosis? How many of these guys you hear about saying somebody was diagnosed as retarded and they weren't? But because they were diagnosed with it, that's how they acted.
But I tell a person who says that shit, go get a hobby. Go get yourself a fucking hobby.
Nigga, go make yourself successful. Do the shit that you're good at. And once that builds your confidence.
Right. But the thing is that, like, if you fill your life with things, you won't focus on all this small, stupid shit.
All I'm saying is that sometimes these diagnoses, you live up or live down to your diagnosis.
Also understand that this is coming from an industry that makes money on creating problems and diagnosing things that don't need a diagnosis.
Hey, same thing with CPS. If you work at CPS, you got to be a shitty person because you need the world to fuck up for you to have a career.
Correct.
Like, if we didn't need y'all, it was great. In fact, my daughter works there too. Wasn't nice with this life, but that drives me crazy. I'm like, your whole existence, the way you make your money, is based on people failing at something that everybody should be doing. Being a parent. I ain't saying everybody should have kids. I said everybody should be a parent. There's a difference. But conception does not make you a parent. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Well, listen. Well, I think we've covered a lot of bases. Again, this time of year, people tend to get the blues and they feel inadequate. But you need to remember that this is about the inner Thanksgiving, not the outer Thanksgiving. And be aware of your blessings. That's all I got. We out. Peace.
Holla back.